Hello and welcome to another time-lapse video. And it's again another Procreate time-lapse. I actually started to record another limited palette video, but the last few weeks were very stressful for me, so I couldn't manage to finish it yet. Since I figured it's better to show you a small video instead of no video at all, I thought I'd show you another Procreate process. Well, actually two different Procreate processes. As I mentioned in my previous video, I mainly draw digital in front of the TV to relax. In general, I focused a lot on portraits and neglected the body. In these two cases, I tried to push me a little and get out of my comfort zone. My goal is to make more complex paintings, and I do tiny baby steps in this direction. For both paintings I will show you I used a loose reference. What I mean with loose is that I didn't copy anything directly, but needed a guideline to see how the pose works. For example, in this painting, the reference photo I used was of a clothed woman. So I had to make up every part of her that was covered. As I said before, my main goal for this piece was to get out of my comfort zone, and I had no plan initially what to do with this reference. I was just going with the flow while I was painting. And this unicorn lady turned out a lot more sexy than I intended. I even wondered if she's too sexy for YouTube, but I think everything is covered, I should be fine, I don't know. What I also don't know is how to explain my process, to be honest. Usually after I did the sketch, I start with a flat layer of color, mostly, the medium tones. Then I focus on the shadows, and the highlights are usually the last part. If you're interested, I could do a more in-depth tutorial, but I'm not sure if I'm the most experienced person to talk about that. For me, it's still a lot of trial and error and playing around. Before I had the opportunity to use Procreate on the iPad, I used Clip Studio Paint on PC. For the most part, I used a very cheap tablet by the brand Monoprice, I think. It was quite big, but I hated the disconnection between the painting and the monitor. It just felt super weird to me, and I couldn't manage to do good outlines to save my life. However, now you see me starting the second piece, and I struggled so much. The guy you see me painting is supposed to be my original character Zakiel. I don't draw comics anymore or write stories, but since I was a child I always come up with stories I kinda become obsessed with. Some of the characters in these stories I paint again and again until they fit the vision I have. And far too often I get bored of the story before I even achieve that. I don't know if I'll ever write one of the stories down or do something else with it. On the one hand, I'd really like to write a story someday, but on the other, it's a very personal thing, I guess. Posting artwork online is already something I consider personal and needs some courage to do. What I mean is, you share a part of yourself with the world and have to deal with any kind of opinion about it. That can be kind of scary, don't you think? By the way, I'm only using default brushes in Procreate. I once tried to make my own brushes, but I failed. I guess I'm too much of a noob. So, what about you? Do you use Procreate, and which brushes do you like the most? At the moment, I mainly use airbrushes, but actually I'd like to have a more painterly look. I couldn't figure out how to manage this yet, but I hope I will find a way. When I started Procreate, it took a while to find a brush that works well for hair. I figured out that turpentine works very well. Speaking of turpentine, do you prefer traditional or digital mediums? I think both techniques have their flaws and their benefits. My main medium is still watercolor, and I absolutely lost my heart to it. Maybe this will change someday, especially since I'm trying to get better in oil painting. But oil painting is a very slow technique, so sometimes I lack the patience, because progress seems to be so slow as well. So this is the first video. I'm just chatting and I hope you like it. I never did this before and I thought I just talk about what comes to my mind. Hopefully I will be able to chat a bit more freely in the future. I need some practice. English isn't my first language, so I have to re-record some of the things I say over and over again. So, I hope you like this video though. See you soon and please like and subscribe.